Manchester United are 13th. It is nearly February. Now, don't get me wrong. I know one elephant in the room here. Tottenham Hotspur are also 15th. They are, as we currently speak, 8 points away from relegation. But that would be in its own video. We are maybe the worst team in the history of Manchester United. This isn't rival fans memeing the club. This isn't journalists that has an agenda against Manchester United being angry at them and spouting their jealousy. This is their own manager. And this is something that we've all known for quite a while. And the question is really, how did he keep messing up? Why does this keep happening? And are Manchester United fans, are you not meant to be happy now forever? I found a comment here on social media, on Twitter actually, which I found really interesting, which was this. I think people started to realise how broken the club is after a decade of mismanagement. We have the second highest squad payroll in the Premier League. Our squad is paid £3.66 million per week, whereas the Liverpool squad is paid £2.48 per week. We have the highest paid defence, second highest paid attack, and third highest paid midfield in the league. Casemiro, Rashford, Mount, Anthony, Maguire, Sancho, Eriksen and Luke Shaw are collectively paid £1.59 million a week. The entire Brighton squad of 28 first-team players is paid £1.16 million a week. Many of these Man United players are signed until 2027 or 2028. They are impossible to sell because nobody's going to pay these ridiculous salaries. All the players know they cannot be sold. They know this is a gravy train. They can collect world-class salaries for zero effort and with no consequences. Nobody can do anything about it. The players have won. The contracts are signed. Suck it up and love them as they steal all your hard-earned cash. Just when we think they cannot get any worse, they do. When we think they've already gone to the bottom, they get lower. And when you have a player, which they believe is not good enough for the club, they then replace him with another player that is actually worse. For example, David De Gea I saw a 2-hour-long fail compilation about him, which more it was the same clip, just repeated. But then De Gea has been put to Onana. Pogba has been put to Eriksen. Fred, which was memed a lot, has been put now to Casemiro, Ronaldo to Haaland, Varane to De Ligt, Telles to Malacia, Martial to Xerxes and Sancho to Anthony. Many of these players were seen as a problem, not good enough, and they've got to go, replaced with a player which for many people see as not even better than they are. Now, of course, this is to your own personal opinion, and this is to this own person's opinion, but I don't think it's far off the matter here. Something that I critiqued Chelsea for is the fact that they rebuild the rebuild that they failed to rebuild because their first rebuild was so bad that they had to rebuild it again, so they keep rebuilding. And it feels like this is what Manchester United are, but in a much more dumber way. Because at least Chelsea are buying younger players that maybe are seen as a risk, but you can see the reason. You can see that maybe there's an idea that they can get better in the future and can build a unit together, a cohesiveness, and can, in a long-term plan, 3-4 years, can become a proper top-level elite club in Europe, elite squad in Europe. You can see the idea here. With United, it's just short-term ideas that can maybe get them through the next 6 months. So, comment down below your thoughts on Manchester United. Again, I don't want to come across like a broken record where I'm saying the same thing or I keep on doing a video about the same club. But it is genuinely fascinating about how it can actually get worse. And the thing is, right, I like Ruben Amorim. I think that he's a good manager. Like, his job that he did at Sporting Lisbon, Sporting Club de Portugal, before people have a go at me, that I thought he did a good job. I think he's a good manager. I think he's got good ideas. So, is it just a fact of the matter is that just he got put into a system with a group of players that just simply are not good enough to do what he wants them to do. It was revealed earlier in the week that Ruben Amorim, in the post-match speech to the players, when he spoke to the players in the dressing room, he destroyed the TV in anger. Quickly, comment down below your thoughts, like, subscribe, and of course, Mazzola Designs for the best football prints with, God knows, 30, Manchester United prints. Go and check it out. The recent one of Amadiolo v City is on there as well. Code United for 15% off all items. Amorim's main annoyance was the lack of positional discipline with his players. This is what he spoke about in his post-match interview after the 3-1 loss at home to Brighton and Hove Albion. Brighton being, for me, the opposite of what United really are. Stating that he's not really had many training sessions with the players, which I find almost baffling. But I mean, keep in mind they do play, in Europe, and they do also play many times in the league and in cup competitions. So of course, having recovery is a big part of it. It's not as simple as when they're not playing their training. That's not how it works. They need time to recover. Maybe some players are dealing with some little injuries here or there. It takes time. Recovery is a very, very important part of the game. So training, I can understand, is not a thing that happens every day, but 7 times they've had training sessions, he said, in a matter of 2 to 3 months he's been there. I find baffling. Could it literally be as simple as these players don't match the philosophy that Amorim wants to implement, which asks the question of why was he put in the job in the first place? Is it more of a long-term, short-term pain for long-term gain? And this is a problem which we also heard with many of the clubs, that when you sign a manager with a different ideology of another manager, who then brings more players to suit the ideology, to then sack that manager, so now you just have a collection of a ton of players from different types of play in the game. We've got Ollie's style of play there. We've also got Ten Hag style of play there. Ruben Amorim's now trying to piece all together with players that were still there from back when Van Gaal was even there. Jose Mourinho's players. There's a variety of players here that has played different types of football, and can it be as simple as you've got 4 different ways of playing the game by 4 different types of players now trying to be pieced together by a manager that is a different style of play. United players are low in confidence and don't really know what they're doing. It seems as simple as that. You know what I don't want here? I don't want Amorim to change what he believes in. I don't want him to change his mentality. Like Ten Hag, when he came in saying that, he did say that he wanted to implement a style of football similar to what he did at Ajax, that he wanted to bring in some players that he wanted to play exciting, aggressive football. And then a couple months later, despite bringing in players from Ajax or players that he's already previously coached with, then saying that he cannot do that, I found that insane. So he changed it completely, and then he lost who he was. I hope that Amorim stays true to who he is here and just maintains it. Now, we're in the 22nd of January here, right, boys? United have brought in really no one this window, which I find insane. God forbid what may happen to United in that time period. By the way, as well, one little thing I want to mention here. Marcus Rashford. Marcus Rashford has been completely ostracized, kicked out the door, not even there, told in the squads. He's not been seen for about a month now, right? Is he really that bad that when you are clearly so evidently weak in attack and you've got such a lack of creativity, is disregarding Marcus Rashford, is he really that much worse right now than Anthony? Now maybe it's a case of making a point. It must be something big, because they keep losing, and he's your Rashford. I mean, he surely will be better than what they have right now. It makes you think what Rashford has done must be really, really bad, because they are pathetic right now, United. I mean, don't forget, right? Southampton game. I watched that game. Southampton were peppering them. Their winger, Sulemana, had Euro on toast the entire game, right? He should have, if he got, of course, quality counts in the end, right? And cream rises at the top and stuff like that. Southampton, if they had at least 1 or 2 players that can actually put the ball back in the net, that had a bit more clinical edge, they would have won that game comfortably. And Southampton are well known to be not just the worst team in the league this year, but one of the worst Premier League teams in history, okay? And they realistically should have won that game until the last 5-10 minutes when they fell apart because of some brilliance of Amadiolo. And also, I want to add this in here because I think it's worth adding and deserves to be mentioned and, really called out, is by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, where, of course, the owner of Manchester United now, and he's made a lot of cost-cutting, cuts here. he's made a lot of cuts here, cost-cutting, like decision-making here. So just to clarify here, about 250 staff have been made redundant by the club. Such thing as vouchers that they usually give out, which is £100, has been now replaced with £40 vouchers. Sir Alex Ferguson asking him to forego his £2 million ambassador salary, stopping a £40,000 a year donation to the ex-Manchester United player network, increasing the ticket prices for children and pensioners up to £66, facing cuts to the charity foundation, and also slashing the salaries of other club ambassadors. Now you may say, okay, well it's gutting out the club to like get rid of what was the root of the problem, but I just don't think Karen from HR is the problem of how much money is being spent in the club here. Personally, I would say is the players that's on £300,000 a week that aren't playing or not performing. Like, how much impact does this really make? Not much, I don't think. The simple fact of the matter is United are just an incredibly poor constructed squad. The squad of players do not suit each other at all, and it's completely unbalanced. They don't have midfielders that are dynamic enough or aggressive enough to combat with other centre midfielders in the league. They're either too old, too past it. Casemiro can't catch up. Everton can't catch up. They've not got wingers that are able to play as a unit and track back and to be a structured unit. Now, has there been some positives? Well, they did beat City at the Etihad. They also knocked out Arsenal in the FA Cup. He's had some pretty decent results. They got a draw against Liverpool as well. So there's been some results. But the thing is, I judge a team based on how they play against the teams that they are meant to be beating. That's what made City such a inevitable force for all those years, that when they had Ipswich at home, Southampton at home, you might as well say hat-trick for Erling Haaland, captain in an FPL. That you might as well, because that's just going to be an easy game. And it has always been an easy game for the last 3-4 years, up until this season, of course, when they're having a bit of a crisis. But we've done that enough with enough videos. But United, it's like how you look at Spurs right now. When they play against a team which is a pretty good team, they play pretty well. They're very competitive, right? The best example is they literally beat Liverpool, right? And in the next game, got sent to extra time by Tamworth. I judge a team by the teams that they are meant to be beating, because that's when they are facing a team that is simply set up to frustrate them, which is, if you're a good side, you should be used to that. Other than United's penalty, they didn't have a single shot on target the entire game, which is poor. It's poor. Can it be as simple as changing a team's formation and system midway through a season, going from a 4-back formation to a 3-back formation? Is that simply too much to ask for a team? A lot of individual errors has been made for United recently. Of course, there's been multiple individual errors that's led to the team conceding goals. We've got Onana and Martinez against Forest. You've got Onana versus Brighton at the weekend. You got Onana versus Pilsen. You got Martinez versus Spurs. You got Malacia versus Bournemouth. You've got Bruno sending off against Wolves. You've got Dalot sending off against Arsenal. Nearly every game there's an error, a basic error made by one of the players, which they are not comfortable to play the system. They are not fully aware where players should be, and they panic and they're low on confidence. So what now? What now? Like, they're gonna give him some time. They're gonna back him in the summer and hope that next year can be the year that they can see some improvement, at least be back in the top 4 conversation. Who leaves? Who would want these players? These players earn a lot of money, so a lot of wages, so there's only a slim amount of clubs that would be actually wanting most of these. Like, if they're going to try to sell an Anthony, who's going to want him? I don't know many. £600 million spent by Erik ten Hag. 20 players later, and this is where we're at. 13th. Comment about your thoughts. It's actually baffling to me how this keeps happening.